Welcome everyone to Tithe Podcast, a podcast about sowing and reaping. This is episode 8, Giving Up on Faith. The reason we're going to talk about this particular subject is because that's exactly what I did. I gave up on faith. And now I'm back, and it's been a minute, over a year, and so we're back in it, and we're gonna keep going. So what happens? Well, let's talk about faith, okay? Because that's one thing that we weren't really talking about before. So we'll start with faith. What is faith? Faith is the substance of the process of bringing something into creation. That's what faith is. That you are believing in such a way as to create the very thing that you are believing for. Okay, and that has a process to it. That has a design. That's part of the things the very cool, special things that God has given us that we can use in His design. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so faith has a design, a specific path. Okay, it has rituals to it. It has an operation, but a dance, a interaction. It has a relationship, okay, that needs to be maintained. It needs to be discovered. It needs to be explored if it's going to work. And that process is what essentially every single person who has ever lived has engaged in, that process to various degrees of success, various levels of success. Some people are very good at that dance. Some people are very good at that process, and others are not. And you can judge them by their fruits, whether or not they're good at bringing something that doesn't exist into reality. So I think it's something like this, okay? So faith has these requirements, and they're like a list of tasks. These are all the things that you're going to have to do in order for that thing that you want to come into the world. And so it's anything, right? It's like make a sandwich. Those are all the things you have to do to make a sandwich. Or it's record a podcast. Here's all the things you have to do to record a podcast. Or it's, whatever it is that you've set out in your heart to achieve. Now, certain things like making a sandwich, that already just you got that down. You have the faith to do that. You have it, you exercise it, you have a relationship with it. You can make that sandwich any way you want. The only thing limiting you is your effort at that point. You can make any kind of sandwich. You have the faith. You have the required steps. You know them, and you can perform them. And so here it comes into the world. Other things that you hope for. I want to, be an astronaut. You don't know how to become an astronaut. So you are in a process of then learning the steps that you need to do in order to bring that thing into reality. And in that scenario where you're learning, you actually have to believe. You have to believe that you're going to know what that next thing is when it's time to know it, right? That's the faith. The faith that you actually have to live and work with and have a relationship with, because you are bridging a gap. You are bridging the gap from the known into the unknown. And when we give up, when we stop doing the ritual, when we stop the learning process of what comes next, when we don't do whatever it is the next step, then nothing happened. And so this process of having wisdom, okay, because that's what we talked about, the 7 spirits in the previous show run, we have wisdom, this incredible gift that humans have access to outline for us what it is that we need to do. And as we work with wisdom, as we build a relationship with wisdom, then it's easier for us to access those places. It's easier for us to have that instinctual knowledge, which is an experiential knowledge, because, like I said, you have this relationship. So faith provides us with the mechanism to open our minds, open our souls, to reach out into the unknown, or reach out into the things that are not seen, these innate processes in the human brain, and within the human soul, the mind in the soul, that we are able to have access to. Okay, so wisdom gives us these steps, and if you don't do the steps, you refuse the call, you refuse what faith is trying to teach you. I mean, that's the other point of this thing, that it's a big setup, that which you are desiring to do already has baked inside of it that what you need to do. That's the thing. That's what it is. This faith is a trial that you get to overcome in your soul. And that process of overcoming is a process where we experience feeling of the soul, a feeling of the fruit of God in our lives, a feeling of that. That happens when we overcome, and we're vibrating, and we are so full of life and understanding of who we are as humans, as sons of God. So that's what faith brings to it. But like I said, you can refuse the call, and that's what I did with the first go round of Tithe over a year ago. I had the outline, right, and it gradually grew. Okay, because as you know, it gradually grew in that I just had an inspiration to do it, and then it took a definition, and then I actually had conceptualized this final form, and so I got through 7 episodes, and I needed to do another round of 7. That was the setup, and I was going to do 7 rounds of 7. And then once I had finished the 7 rounds of 7, it would be done. So I had the vision of it, but I just never did another episode. I did 7, and then I didn't do another, and then I didn't keep going. And I just learned recently, listening to a friend of mine. He gives talks on YouTube, and he said that when there is a 7, there always has an 8, because the 8 is the seed for the next 7. So anyway, it took me this long to get back here, but also back here comes now with a new vision. A new reason, a new purpose for it. And so I have stepped back onto a path in which I have a purpose now in order to fulfill it. Whereas before, I don't know. Maybe I couldn't move forward until I saw that vision. Possibly that's it. But it doesn't matter, because we're just back here on this path now of finishing this inspiration of faith, that I have inside me. And so I'm working this thing out as I'm talking about it. And that's how we set up, the first season of Tithe. So anyway, so we're working this out, and that's where we are, okay? And I was still, during this year of not doing it, I never left that faith, right? I never said, that's a stupid idea, I'm going to think something else to do, or that's just dumb, I should just give up on the whole thing. I always just felt bad that I wasn't doing it. Or, not really felt bad, that's not true. I would think about it often and kind of half-assed way try and think about maybe doing it, even though I never did. And it's very simple to do. You just turn on the microphone and start talking. But it's the doing of your faith that creates a new reality, right? So I wasn't doing, so there was no new reality. And so I couldn't move forward. All I could do was just keep looking at the vision. And it's a static vision because you haven't completed the next step, so you don't know what it is that you should be doing. Many times, I think, at least for me, I can only really see the one step in front of me. Everything beyond that one step is just kind of ideas that you can kind of color in, but until you do that thing, you actually don't know what it's going to be. Faith is the thing that got you to where you are right now in your life. Everything that you've done, you had to believe that you could do it, and then a series of steps, a series of accomplishments needed to take place in order to get you there. So if you've ever moved anywhere in your life, this happened. You had a vision of, I'm going to go live somewhere else, and then you had a list of steps that needed to get done in order to do that. Right now, you can get as graceful or as intricate or whatever on the amount of steps, but the essentials have to hit or you're not going to move. So that is the process that has gotten you to where you are in your life right now. You have accomplished all of the steps to get you to where you currently are. And if you want to keep moving forward in another direction, there are a whole another list of steps, and you actually do them consciously. You actually make the plan every time to keep you on the path to make the steps to get there. It's not an unconscious thing. It's not a series of unconscious movements or thoughts or words or whatever. That's not how it works. You are actually thinking about and making a decision. You're making a choice to get to all these places. And so it's the exact same process. So accomplishing everything that you've accomplished in your life is the exact same process of accomplishing the thing that you're currently not doing. It might take more focus. It might take more effort to become an astronaut than it is to move from house to house. It might take more continuous focus, but the process is the same. In your soul, in your will, and your emotions, your mind, will, and your emotions. What happens in that place as you begin the process to move as opposed to become an astronaut? Those processes are 100% the exact same thing. The intensity is much different, or can be different, I guess. It's relative, isn't it? If it's really hard for someone to do something, it's hard for them to do it, isn't it? There's not, how would you judge? Because something's more painful, but if someone, think about lifting weights, okay? So the guy or gal who is really good at lifting weights and is super strong, Is lifting weights really hard for him? He's been doing it for the last 5 years, 5 days a week, and he seems to be pretty good at it. So is that actually a hard thing for him to do? There's an effort there, of course, right? But again, is it hard for him to do if he's looking forward to it? If it doesn't feel right, if he doesn't do it, no. So, but for the person where they can't, keep their room clean, and they've never been able to keep their room clean in 40 years of living, then it's pretty hard for him, obviously. It doesn't cause him any, physical pain or anything, but certainly it's difficult for him to be able to accomplish that task. So that's what I mean when I say it's the same faith that makes you a sandwich or moves. It's the same faith as that which makes you an astronaut or to accomplish whatever else it is that you want to accomplish. We are equipped. That's just how we work. That's just how a human being does things. That's because we are using faith. And what faith is that substance that of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That's what faith is. It pulls it into existence. It is the substance. It creates the thing that you are hoping for. Okay, so that wraps up episode 8 of Tithe Podcast, where we talked about giving up on faith, but really more what we talked about, what is faith? And we're going to continue to explore more about faith as we move out into this new season of sowing and reaping. So I wanted to thank everybody for tuning back in, and I will see you on the next episode.